You remember being told as a kid, if you want to earn more, you must work harder. But they lied to you. The system taught you myths to control you. Only the elite and a few lone thinkers broke free from these 5 dangerous myths. Friedrich Nietzsche tried to help people break their chains, but society fears that freedom. If you're ready for an uncomfortable truth, watch on. Your life might change today. The first myth is this: morality equals good. But morality was not given to us by heaven. It was invented by humans, often to keep others obedient. Nietzsche demanded that we ask, who benefits from the moral rule you obey? Why is meekness praised? Why is sacrifice glorified? Why is ambition so often shamed? Perhaps because these values make people easier to govern. A society that worships suffering stabilizes hierarchies. The powerful stay powerful, while everyone else learns to see limitation as virtue. Ask yourself, when guilt rises in you simply because you want more, whose advantage does that guilt serve? Morality can be used as social software, an invisible leash. But Nietzsche's point was not to destroy all ethics. It was to give us clarity. Once you see where rules come from, you can choose which to obey and which to discard. That is the beginning of self-rule, and self-rule is where true influence begins. Look around you and test this in everyday life. In offices, who gets promoted? The quiet worker who sacrifices silently, or the colleague who makes himself visible, builds alliances, and leverages influence? Companies preach values, but behind the curtain, it is profit that decides. Politicians say, for the common good, while securing private advantages. Religion praises humility, while its leaders live in comfort. Online, people confess sins for sympathy, yet sympathy is not the same as real power. These are not conspiracies, they are patterns. If you see them, you stop wasting energy on applause that never pays off. You start building where it matters, in systems, in skills, in networks that multiply your effort. Integrity is not weakness if you pair it with strategy. Play the game of morality as an author, not a victim. When you act with both honesty and leverage, you become hard to govern and impossible to ignore. Nietzsche gave this shift a name: slave morality. Long ago, strong cultures admired courage and force, but when weaker groups rose in influence, priests, clerics, those without physical power, they redefined values. Suddenly, humility became noble, suffering became holy, ambition became shameful. The result? Revolt was discouraged, conformity encouraged. What looked like spiritual wisdom was in fact political technology. And you see it still today. Schools that reward obedience instead of imagination. Workplaces that promote seniority over innovation. Social circles that mock ambition as arrogance. Shame is passed from one generation to the next like an inherited chain. Nietzsche's history gives you a gift. It dissolves the illusion that our morals are eternal. They are not. You are free to ask, does this value make me more capable, or does it make me smaller? Choosing courage, discipline, and excellence is not cruelty. It is a path to contribution. When you stop apologizing for ambition, you begin creating results that matter. This is the permission to rise. But Nietzsche did not stop there. He contrasted slave morality with what he called master morality. Masters were creators, inventors, culture builders. They did not inherit their values, they authored them. They judged actions by whether they affirmed life, strength, and excellence. These were not tyrants. Nietzsche warned that power without wisdom destroys itself. True mastery is disciplined strength, guided by judgment. Think of innovators who reshape entire industries. Think of artists who redefine taste, or entrepreneurs who build institutions that outlast them. Their ethic is long-term, planning across years, repeating excellence until it becomes reputation. They disturb comfort, but in doing so, they expand the possible. Masters show restraint. They do not waste power, they direct it with craft. The lesson? Examine your morals, keep those that empower, discard those that weaken, then act with purpose. That is how cultures, legacies, and unbreakable lives are built. Throughout history, morality has been used as camouflage. Phrases like, "for the children," or "for the common good," can be levers for manipulation. Wrap an action in righteousness, and suddenly opposition looks immoral. Guilt is a weapon, one of the most powerful. But not all moral claims are lies. Some protect life and dignity, so the test must be simple. Look at outcomes. Who benefits? Who pays the price? If a moral law secures advantage for the few, be skeptical. Demand transparency, demand proof. When leaders' words match reality with measurable results, support them. When they do not, question everything. On the personal level, ask before you sacrifice. What outcome will this create? And who will share the cost? That single question will save you from being drained by others' righteousness. Accountability breaks the spell of manipulation. In the end, morality must become yours, not theirs. Nietzsche urged us to become authors of our own code, to write rules that make us stronger, wiser, freer, to test values in real life, not just in books. Try one principle for a month. Relentless curiosity or uncompromising workmanship. Watch how it shapes your results. Keep what works, drop what weakens. Over time, you forge a code that shields you from empty guilt and guides you through pressure. And this is not cold calculation. It is a form of love, directed toward your own growth. When you own your ethics, you can still care, still give, but now from freedom, not obligation. The higher man, Nietzsche said, is not a destroyer for destruction's sake. He creates values paired with empathy, with foresight, with responsibility. That makes him harder to manipulate and stronger in every domain. Build skills, networks, and institutions that multiply your impact. Live with strength and wisdom. Then you do not just survive in this world, you shape it. The second myth is this: hard work equals success. Robert Greene, the American strategist and author of The 48 Laws of Power, studied patterns of influence and found a truth that many ignore. Effort alone almost never secures the highest rewards. Hard work is like currency, but the value depends on how you spend it. Many grind away at tasks that burn time, but create little leverage. Meanwhile, a strategist turns the same hours into something that multiplies. Systems, teams, brands, intellectual property, platforms. Think of the craftsman who works 16 hours each day. Now compare him with the entrepreneur who builds a system where hundreds of craftsmen can work. The first life scales linearly, the second life scales exponentially. Greene's lesson is sharp. Do not worship toil. Study incentives. Build leverage. Design moves that multiply your time across people and years. That is the architecture of real success. The strong build levers, not chains of labor. A worker trapped in routine trades hours for output. A strategist designs structures where effort repeats itself even while he sleeps. Leverage can take many forms: automation, brand, intellectual property, reputation, alliances. Each is a lever that turns one act into countless returns. Consider this: a skilled employee holds knowledge only in his head. If he leaves, the value leaves with him. But if that same knowledge is turned into software, a manual, or a trained team, it endures. That is leverage. Building levers demands design thinking and foresight. It requires social intelligence, knowing how to align people, manage incentives, and turn reputation into access. Begin small. Map your assets. What can you delegate? What can you automate? What can you transform into a reusable product? Build feedback loops so your results compound over time. Invest in relationships that turn into channels of opportunity. Invest in your name so that attention converts to influence. This is not only smarter work, it is freedom from the randomness of bosses and markets. When you build levers, you build resilience, and resilience is power. Think about Ray Kroc and the McDonald's empire. Kroc did not become wealthy by standing over a hot grill, flipping burgers. His genius was in leverage. He built a franchise system that multiplied a single local idea into a global structure. Workers cooked, managers managed, but Kroc engineered the machine. He designed processes, standards, and a distribution network that others paid to use. His reward came not from hours worked, but from the architecture he left running while he slept. That is the essence of leverage, turning effort into systems that work even when you are not there. Measure value not by hours, but by what continues after your direct input ends. The craftsperson is paid once for their labor. The architect of the system is paid every time that system moves. That is strategic intelligence, directing hard work into frameworks that scale beyond you. The question is not only what you do today, but what you design today that will keep producing tomorrow. This is where Robert Greene, author of The 48 Laws of Power, gives a crucial insight. Stop chasing only tasks. Start hunting opportunities. Tasks are finite. Opportunities open doors that multiply. Greene shows us that the strategist is not merely busy but positioned, able to see patterns before others and act where leverage forms. Ask yourself, are you drowning in tasks or are you moving the whole field? Learn to read industries like the maps. Where do networks cluster? Which skills become gates? What technologies shift entire landscapes? The ones who succeed are not necessarily faster or stronger, but those who recognize levers, distribution channels, timing, alliances, narratives, and seize them. At your own scale, this means building optionality, multiple income streams, documented process, and partnerships that amplify reach. Create modular products, licensing deals, funnels that run automatically. Make small bets, test fast, and scale only what multiplies. Over years, those small, intelligent moves compound into real freedom. And now, the myth 3, that convenience means safety. Arthur Schopenhauer, the 19th century philosopher, famous for The World as Will and Representation, warned that the herd instinct enslaves the individual through a quiet craving for approval. To be convenient is to smooth edges, to silence your wants, to make life easier for others at your own expense. It feels polite, but it makes you predictable and therefore governable. The one who never resists becomes the one always chosen to carry the extra load. The craving for comfort becomes a cage. You exchange your freedom for approval and call it safety, but it is not safety, it is voluntary servitude. The strong know how to say no. A no is not just a refusal, it is a weapon, a shield, a signal that your time has value. People who cannot say no are scattered, reactive, constantly bent by others' desires. But those who can, they are authors of their own schedule. A no protects optionality. It keeps the future open, and it trains others to respect your boundaries. Try small experiments. Decline low-value asks. Use short, unapologetic phrases. Replace guilt with clarity. I focus only on projects that expand my capacity. This is not rudeness, it is strategy. A no can be paired with alternatives. Another time, a referral, a smaller commitment. That balance keeps relationships alive while protecting your scarce energy. If you find these reminders useful, say yes by liking this video. It's the simplest way to agree. Every no you speak saves energy. That energy compounds. Hours not wasted become focused practice, deep work, and relationships that actually matter. Saying no is not selfish. It is stewardship. Schopenhauer understood this. The will seeks comfort, and comfort tempts you into conformity. But growth requires discomfort. A no is an investment in your long-term autonomy. Build rules, weekly non-negotiable time blocks, strict limits on meetings, a guarded calendar. Protect your flow state, the rare condition where your competence expands fast. With sustained focus, you grow stronger than those scattered by obligation. And here's the paradox. By saying no, you can help others more effectively. Instead of small drains, you give structured, high-value help, introductions, resources, systems, without burning out. Your reputation shifts, not always available, but reliably effective. That shift transforms sympathy into influence. Energy conserved becomes capital. Capital you spend only on projects and people that matter most. The myth 4. That sacrifice means respect. This is where Ayn Rand, the 20th century philosopher and novelist, steps in. Known for Atlas Shrugged, she argued fiercely against the glorification of self-sacrifice. Cultures praise martyrs, honor quiet suffering, and demand endurance as virtue. These stories inspire, but they also exploit. When sacrifice is worshipped as the highest ideal, the productive are pressured to give up their gains in the name of duty. Rand's challenge was radical. Measure ethics by whether they foster creation, strength, and flourishing, not by how much they drain you. If your loss becomes someone else's easy gain, beware. Protect your projects, insist on reciprocity, and refuse to be turned into a resource others consume. This is not selfishness, it is survival. The preservation of your ability to contribute long-term. Nobody respects perpetual victimhood. Rand saw how societies elevate victims as moral tokens, symbols to justify power grabs by others. Victimhood may grant attention, but not real agency. Pity fades, competence endures. Dependence makes you a pawn, not a player. Respect flows to those who create, solve problems, and build lasting value. To rely on victimhood is to trap yourself in a fragile identity, forever dependent on external sympathy. This does not dismiss genuine suffering, it acknowledges it. But it warns, do not let suffering become your currency. Convert it into strength, the worker who frames setbacks. Learning earns both sympathy and opportunity. The one who frames setbacks as permanent victimhood gains sympathy but loses respect. Agency is the difference. When you accept the role of victim, you surrender authorship of your story. You let others define you by what happened, not by what you choose. That surrender feels safe. It excuses inaction, but it steals years. The cure is authorship. Use adversity as data, not destiny. Take small, deliberate steps. Build skills, habits, alliances. Each small win shifts the story from passive suffering to active growth. Structural problems exist, but while you push for reform, arm yourself with capacity, financial literacy, durable habits, allies you can trust. That makes you not a victim of history, but a participant in changing it. Respect is the result of competence and contribution, not the badge of suffering. Rand's lesson is clear. Esteem rooted in creation is solid. Esteem rooted in pity is unstable. Respect gained from sacrifice depends on others' moods. Respect gained from mastery endures. Build skills that solve problems. Create results others cannot ignore. Document your work. Leave structures that outlive you. Generosity should come from surplus, not depletion. When you give from strength, your actions create alliances and loyalty. Over time, the steady weight of discipline and integrity builds unshakable authority. People trust you because your results speak before your name does. That trust is the currency of influence, and it compounds. Each act of reliability becomes a brick in a fortress of respect. That is how you build standing that survives moods, politics, and trends. True respect grows not from suffering, but from consistent excellence, and it transforms you into a force impossible to ignore. The myth 5. The system takes care of you. This is the most dangerous myth because it makes people trust institutions as if they were living guardians. But Max Stirner, the 19th century German philosopher who wrote The Ego and Its Own, revealed the truth. He called abstract powers, state, duty, humanity, mere spooks. Empty masks used to demand obedience. These masks don't feel, don't care, don't bleed for you. They are machines built to preserve themselves. Laws, bureaucracies, corporations, all designed to keep their gears turning, not to grow your freedom. Look at history. When crises strike, who do institutions save first? Themselves. This is why relying on the system for safety is a gamble you will lose. Instead, learn to treat the system as a tool, not a master. Study its rules, use its benefits, but never confuse its stability with your own. Independence begins the moment you stop asking the system to love you and start asking how you can use it without serving it. True strength begins when you own your life. Stirner spoke of the unique, a person who does not bow to abstractions, but acts from his own will. You decide your path, not the state, not the church, not the crowd. Later, Ayn Rand carried a similar torch. She argued that rational self-interest is not greed, it is dignity. Building, creating, and protecting your own achievements is the true moral stance. Think about it. When you depend on vague duties or the shifting moods of society, your power evaporates. But when you invest in skills, savings, trusted allies, and freedom to move, you turn into a man who chooses instead of being chosen for. Independence does not mean isolation. It means creating a base so solid, financial, intellectual, and social, that you are never trapped when the rules change. Align your decisions with long-term strength, not short-term comfort. That is not selfishness, it is self-command, and those who master it gain both freedom and respect. Think of systems not as cages, but as engines. If you understand their mechanics, you can ride them to accelerate your projects. Every system has rhythms, budgets, deadlines, decision pathways. Who signs the check? Who controls the gate? Those who know this map can win inside the game without becoming owned by it. Build small experiments inside institutions. Prove what works and scale only what benefits you. Use grants, tax codes, partnerships, or corporate programs not because you worship them, but because they fuel your fire at someone else's expense. The key is this: negotiate so that your upside is locked in. Never build a structure where only others get the reward. Systems are powerful amplifiers when used wisely, but they must remain your servants. Do not accept roles handed to you. Create your own rules. Stirner imagined the union of egoists, where people join not out of duty, but for mutual advantage. That's how you should design your partnerships, not as rituals of loyalty, but as clear agreements where everyone wins. Build your mini-state, your household, your creative studio, your business. Give it laws, incentives, and boundaries that reflect your vision. A well-structured microbusiness can shield its creators, reward contribution, and grow without begging for outside permission. Write charters for collaborations. Split equity fairly. Create systems where results matter more than empty titles. This is small-scale sovereignty, and sovereignty, even in miniature, compounds into real freedom. Myths collapse, and when they do, the choice is yours. Will you pick up the sword of reason or slip back into chains? The old stories, hard work as a guarantee, comfort as safety, sacrifice as honor, the system as protector, truth as an automatic victor, they all break when tested. But breaking myths is not despair. It is liberation. Once you stop obeying invisible scripts and start testing values by outcomes, you reclaim your agency. And yes, it is uncomfortable, But discomfort is the fire in which clarity is forged. Take responsibility, build leverage, map incentives, set boundaries, create rules that serve your goals. Your life can be crafted with precision, not accepted as fate. And if you want more tools and reminders to keep breaking myths and sharpening your clarity, subscribe to the channel so that the next time the world tries to put you back in chains, you're already holding the sword. So start today. Act as if you owe no one your submission. Refuse the victim role. Define your values and live them. Begin with small moves. Guard your calendar. Build one leveraged project. Set one public standard for your work. Practice saying no where it drains you, and yes only where your reasons are clear. Train your judgment. Build networks that multiply your effort. Create systems that defend your time and talent. In months, these habits grow into reputation. In years, they become institutions. You may not transform overnight, but step by step you become someone who shapes outcomes instead of being shaped. And when you're ready for the next step, let YouTube guide you. Watch the next video it offers, because the journey doesn't end here.